Hello everyone. So today is going to be a shorter video. Um I could not find much on this at all, but it is such a bizarre case. It's a head scratcher, honestly, and I don't even know what to say. But my case suggestion form, like always, is down below if there's a case you want me to cover eventually. And so are the sources for this case. I'm sorry if I butcher any names. I did listen to how to pronounce them. So I'm sorry if I do accidentally butcher some names, but I will try my best not to. But today we're going to be talking about Melissa Fu and Amber Aiaz. So on Amber's last name, there was two pronunciations, and one said Aiaz and the other one said Iaz or Ease. So the first one was Aiaz, so that's the one I'm gonna go with. But they did give me two pronunciations, so I wasn't quite sure. So they are a mother and daughter that did disappear. So Melissa was last seen in Irvine, California on November 22nd, 2019, and she disappeared with her mother Amber, who's also known as Mei Yi Wu, on the day of the pair's disappearances. Hold on, let me actually make sure I know how to say this one real quick. Okay, so the pronunciation thing is giving me three different ways. It's spelled Zhang, and it said Zhang, Chung, and Zhang. So, I'm gonna go with Chang Zhang. Correct me down below. So I wasn't sure which one it was. I guess maybe there's different ways to pronounce it, but I'm not entirely sure. But Chang Zhang is Amber's husband and Melissa's stepfather, and he was home with Melissa at their apartment in the vicinity of Michelson and University. Amber was driving home from Las Vegas, Nevada, with a carload of produce that they planned to sell at the market. So someone would knock on the door at 4:30 p.m., and when Zhang answered, he saw a woman and a man he did not recognize. The woman had something in her right hand, and Zhang felt something wet and misty on his face, collapsed, and was unconscious. But when he woke up hours later, there were bloodstains on the carpet and a bloody handprint on the kitchen wall. Melissa was gone, and Amber should have arrived home by this time, but she was also gone, and neither of them have ever been seen again. Zhang would find a white-lined paper with handwritten instructions from the kidnappers in Chinese. The note said Amber and Melissa were okay and would be home in a few days, but only if Zhang did not contact the police. If he did, the note warned, he would never see his wife or stepdaughter again. The note instructed him to clean up the apartment and act normal until they returned. So I don't know about you guys, what you guys would do if your loved ones were gone and you received that note. Let me know what you would do. Would you contact authorities? Would you try to figure out what's going on your own? Would you just follow instructions and hope it went right? Because here's the thing, I don't know if I would contact authorities, and you're probably like, what the hell? The thing is, I don't entirely trust them to not be like, oh, well, maybe you did it. So I don't know about that. Honestly, knowing me, and my husband has honestly said that if something was to happen to me, he wouldn't completely rely on authorities. He would probably just jump right into it himself and try to figure out what happened, because I would trust myself to figure out something faster than they would. But I don't know if I could just not do anything. I don't know. It kind of feels like you're just wasting time. And what if they're lying, you know? So let me know what you would do. But after the objections, Zhang followed the kidnappers' instructions and carried on as normal as he could for a week. He cut away the bloody carpet and he replaced it. He painted over the bloody handprint on the wall and posed as his wife on WeChat, told his stepdaughter's school she was homesick. He found his wife's Ford Explorer parked in its usual spot, still full of produce, and he sold the food. So he just posed as his family. I don't know if I could do that, honestly. Like, you might be thinking that sounds guilty as hell, and honestly, when I read that, I thought the same thing. Like, how do you just not say anything or, like, do more yourself? Like, your stepdaughter and wife are just missing, and you're just like, yeah, let's just carry on as normal as possible. But I could also imagine being scared and like, if you do something wrong, what if they're watching me? Like, if I step out of line, what if they hurt them? So I could see it, but I also can't. So it just kind of gave me a weird vibe. But as we go on, that vibe is gonna change. So he would say that during this period, he would sometimes find notes slipped under his door telling him he was doing fine. Yeah, he was doing fine. So he was receiving notes from these people. So they were watching him. So maybe it's a good thing he didn't go. But they would also say that he would see Amber and Melissa soon and to keep behaving normally. 5 days after the abduction, he got a fifth note telling him his wife and stepdaughter were still fine, but he should leave town for 2 days. So he went to Las Vegas, stayed with a relative, and would return 2 days later to find a sixth and final note telling him again that evening that everything was fine and instructed him to clean the house again and saying that he would see Amber and Melissa in a few days. When those few days passed without any more notes and without his wife and daughter coming back, he finally went to the police. And that was on December 2nd. So authorities were initially skeptical of his account of the kidnapping and the events that followed, the wet, misty thing, and then being unconscious and then just not knowing what happened, and there's blood everywhere. I mean, I think we would all kind of be skeptical if we heard that story, because how do you just, like, it just seems like it just wouldn't happen, like, why? So they were skeptical, but however, there would be an extensive investigation, including more than 40 hours of interviews with Zhang and 44 days of round-the-clock surveillance of him, and this not only did not disprove his story, but it actually supported his story. It supported the fact that he was telling the truth. So this most unbelievable story that we're hearing right now, it can't be disproven. So like there were people at the door. Something got sprayed on him or dumped on him that was able to just knock him out cold. Maybe there was some sort of like tussle, considering there was blood on the wall and on the carpet, with Melissa and probably Amber, and then they were just taken. And these people were also watching him for some reason, and for some reason, whatever their notes said, they weren't following through on the notes. So this is all actually happening, and that is just like, it's so crazy to think about. So one of the detectives, Gavin Hudson at the Irvine Police Department, has said that the turning point for him was on January 15th, 2020. Zhang had been giving the same account for about 6 weeks consistently. On that day, they would interview him all day long. The FBI is there, and they have an FBI behavioral specialist watching. They surprised him with a polygraph test, which he does agree to take, and his story hangs together in a way that would challenge the memory of even a trained actor. So, he seems to be a simple man, and they can't believe that he's just sticking to this very odd story. And it's the kind of story that would challenge the memory of a great actor, and he just like, he's not changing the story. And so this would also contribute to their belief that there might be something else going on there, and it wasn't just the matter that they were trying to come to, that a husband would just killed his wife and stepdaughter, because they were skeptical and they're like, oh, he probably just hurt them or something. And they were investigating and surveilling him, the polygraph test, and his story did not change, and it could not be disproven, and it was actually supported. And that is just crazy to me. So obviously they need to know what happened and who did it, because if it wasn't Chang Zhang who hurt and or killed Amber and Melissa, and it wasn't like what they thought it was, where there was a fight or whatever, and that someone actually did knock on the door and he went unconscious and then they were taken, they need to know what happened. And of course, after interrogating him, they would come out with several theories. And those theories are what we're going to talk about now. So now it's time to talk about the theories. So one theory is the Gone Girl theory, which is that Amber took her daughter Melissa and just disappeared. Maybe they were running from something, but the trouble is it's hard to stay off the grid for that long. And it's been a year and a half, and they have not shown up in. Actually, now it's been 2 years. It was a year and a half at the time I was reading this certain article, but it's been that long, and they haven't showed up in any database. So the police say that their passports were at the apartment. And supposedly the Chinese government says to the U.S. authorities that there is no record of Amber accessing her bank account in China, nor is there any evidence of her returning to the country. Um, and I guess yeah, there's the chance that they could go to another country, but like, what would they be living off of? Like she hasn't accessed her bank account. Um, it's just really weird. So those are like the kind of arguments that argue against the Gone Girl scenario, and it's really pointing to the likelihood that they're victims of a double kidnapping that may have turned into a double homicide. Another theory that was mentioned has to do with the wife's behavior. So, according to police reports, she had convinced Zhang that she had millions of dollars in investments and hundreds of thousands in cash. So, yeah, I don't agree with like the Gone Girl theory, because like, what would they be living off of? She hasn't accessed money, and their passports are at the house, so like she didn't go back to China. I mean, I guess they could have been in another country, but like, how though? So it's just kind of weird. And I don't want it to be something that turned into a homicide, but there was blood at the crime scene, and they were definitely gone. So I do believe that they might have been kidnapped, um, and possibly killed. But we still have more to talk about. So, like I just said, she had told Zhang that she had all this money, but in the mother's past, there were some men that she had involvement with who believed that she had swindled them. And according to police, exaggerated habitually about the money she had. She didn't really have that much, and she was practically broke. But she convinced people that she had a lot of money, including her own husband. So Chang Zhang had the belief that his wife had millions of dollars, and was surprised when police confronted him with evidence that she didn't. So she seemed to be deceiving even her husband, which is it's weird. Like, I can't imagine that he would care that you were broke. I mean, why would you exaggerate? Why would you lie? Um, is it's just weird. I can't believe he just never like asked to see the money or anything like that. Like, it's just weird to me. But there is a theory that people kidnapped her believing that she had a lot of money. Um, and that they would make them lead her to that, or lead them to the money, and when there wasn't any money, they were killed. And that's also a pretty plausible theory, which I kind of do believe, because okay, so here's what I'm kind of thinking is that the whole money thing, yes, I believe that maybe she did try to like swindle people, doesn't actually have any money, they wanted their money back. When they realized that she didn't have their money, she was killed. And maybe, I don't know what the point of Melissa would be, taking Melissa would be, maybe as like a ransom, but like, why wouldn't they give Melissa back? Well, okay, I guess. I don't know, I guess maybe ransom doesn't make sense either. They would kill her anyway. I don't know. Like, what's the point of taking Melissa unless Melissa just happened to be there and it was because Amber wasn't there yet? I don't know. And yeah, maybe Melissa would have been a witness, but then wouldn't they have killed the husband? I don't know. So even though there was blood at the apartment, their bodies have never been found. Um, and now Zhang is living in Los Angeles and he's working as an Uber driver. I guess just trying to get on with his life. But that's basically where the case ends. They don't know anything. But we're going to get on to talking about the unknown individuals, what they look like, and then we're going to get on to what Melissa and Amber look like should they be alive and you come across them. So, the unknown individuals are possibly associated with a black Cadillac, an unknown model. They are described as follows: a Chinese female in her 40s, approximately 5'8", with an average build and black hair worn in a bun. A Chinese male in his 40s, approximately 5'10", weighing 190 pounds, with an average build and short black hair. So, Melissa Fu's characteristics. So she was 13 years old at the time of the disappearance, with dark brown hair, brown eyes. She stood at 5'11", 200 pounds, female, Asian, and was last seen wearing a black tracksuit. As for Amber, she was 34 years old at the time of the disappearance, with black hair and brown eyes. She stood at 5'9", 180 pounds, Asian, and when she was last seen wearing a black shirt, a black vest, fitted black pants with white writing, and light-colored shoes. And that is all we have on the puzzling disappearance of Melissa Fu and her mother, Amber Aiaz. It's bizarre because it's like the money thing, yeah. She swindled someone, they want their money back, but then did Melissa get in the way? Did they maybe want to, like, it's just so many things that don't really make sense, but then they also make sense, So, unfortunately, I don't think they're around anymore. I don't think they are. I think they would have been found by now if they were still alive. But just because these are the theories I presented to you doesn't mean that these are the only things that could have happened to them. There very well could have been something completely different that I haven't even talked about. So just pay attention to their photos and their characteristics, and if you see them or if you know anything, please report that. And hopefully they can either come home alive or we can find their remains and find out who did it. But I am so sorry to Chang Zhang to just have that happen and then not even have any answers. It's really heartbreaking. And yeah. But let me know what you guys think down below. Please, no nasty comments. Please keep it respectful. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye, guys.